Hello, what's up, brothers and sisters, and welcome back to yet another Throwback Thursday edition. This time we're at the Meadowlands, the old Giant Stadium, not MetLife, but Giant Stadium, and the 6-10 New York Giants taking on the 6-10 Dallas Cowboys. And I also checked in the Washington Redskins that year were also 6-10. The Eagles, they just ran away with the division. They went 14-2, I believe. Yeah, so the NFC East isn't always what it's cracked up to be, but in this one, I'm playing as those New York Giants, those G-men. We're going to be taking on those Dallas Cowboys, those starheads from Texas. So it's sucking the one. Julius Jones, he's a tailback. Drew Bledsoe driving back the pass. I don't know who he was throwing that ball to, man. But Super Bowl Sunday is right around the corner. You got to be excited for that. You got to. I'm excited for that. I can't wait for this game to get started. I'm tired of all this media coverage. I'm tired of everybody talking about stuff that means absolutely nothing. I'm ready to get the game going, man. I'm ready to get the game going. So I want to know who you guys are riding with. I want to know who you guys are going to take in the Super Bowl. Now, if you're like me, I really don't care. You know, I've been blessed to be in a situation where I've been able to watch my team late in the year, my 49ers, late in the year. You know what I mean? So this one, I'm really not rooting for anybody. Now, when my Niners sucked, when the 49ers sucked and the regular season was hard to watch and the playoffs came, I was like, okay, I finally get to see some other teams, finally get to see some other matchups and stuff like that. And I would usually go with the team that was my favorite team, or like a team that had a player that I wanted to win the Super Bowl. So this time around, there's two people that I want to see win the Super Bowl. I want to see Peyton Manning win the Super Bowl, and I'll tell y'all why. And I also want to see Marshawn Lynch win the Super Bowl, and I'll tell y'all why too. I'm gonna start with Marshawn though. Marshawn, me and him, we went to the same high school. Not saying that we were best of friends or nothing like that, but it's always cool to see somebody that, you know, you saw at school, somebody that you was in the weight room with and stuff like that, make it, you know, all the way to the NFL, make it to the biggest stage out in the NFL, you know what I mean? And it's like, I would love to see him win one, you know what I mean? From Oakland, I'm from Oakland, you know what I mean? It would just be it would be something crazy, you know what I mean? To see somebody that I went to high school win a Super Bowl, it would be crazy. But it's like I'm not rooting for the Seahawks because I'm a Niner fan, you know what I mean? As much as I got love for Marshawn, as much as, you know, the memories I have in high school with everybody that I went to high school with, it's like I was a Niner fan before I met half of those people, you know what I mean? So my Niners, they come first when it comes to this football thing. Now, Peyton Manning. Now, when people talk about the greatest quarterbacks of all time, it always bothers me because I can clearly see and I can clearly look at, you know, that Dan Marino was one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever do it. Ever do it, right? He has 0 Super Bowl titles, right? Then you look at a guy like Terry Bradshaw who has 4, who was 4-0 in the Super Bowl. He has 4. He was the quarterback of the team in the 70s, those Pittsburgh Steelers. He has 4, and not nobody, not one person would sit here today and say that Terry Bradshaw is better than Dan Marino. Nobody on their right mind would say that. Nobody in their right mind would say that Eli Manning is better than Peyton Manning just because he has 2 Super Bowls and Peyton only has 1. You know what I mean? In my eyes, you're great. Let me rephrase that. Excuse me. Let me clear my throat. If you're great, you are great. Football is the ultimate team game. When I evaluate a quarterback, I want to know if I can trust this guy to bring my team back if we need this guy to bring me back. Right? Your Trent Dilfers of the world, they weren't built like that. Your Brad Johnsons of the world, they weren't built like that. To me, Eli Manning, even though he had a great 2 Super Bowls, for the majority of his career, he's not that quarterback that's going to bring you back. He's not that quarterback where you're going to win the majority of your games because of him. With the Dan Marino, the Dolphins, they won all of their games basically because of Dan Marino. Dan Marino never had a great defense. He never had a great running game. And I mean, he ain't never, ever had a great running game as Keyshawn Johnson. Keyshawn Johnson goes over the top of 2 defenders, mossing them like he Randy or somebody like that. So, I would like to see Peyton win it just to shut all those people up that don't know what the heck they're talking about, man. And the biggest one, and it's not just because it's Super Bowl week and all that stuff and everybody has a microphone and everybody's, you know, saying their opinion and stuff like that. it's this one dude that always makes me mad, and it's Michael Irvin. And I know what you're thinking, well, it's that Niner Cowboys thing. Nah, I actually like Michael Irvin as a player. He's one of my favorite players to watch when I was a kid, but he talks so highly on Troy Aikman, and he should. It's well deserved. It is well deserved. Troy Aikman is one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever do it. But there's one glaring hole in Troy Aikman's games, and I'll be the first one to tell you that stats do not tell the whole story. But this one stat is very, very big. Troy Aikman only threw for 20 or more touchdown passes one time in his whole career. Just one time in his whole career. Now, a lot of that had to do with them giving the ball to Emmitt Smith in the red zone, and I get that. I totally get that. But to only score 20 touchdowns or more one time in the season when you have somebody like Michael Irvin, Emmitt Smith was a better running back out of the backfield than people give him credit for. And they've always had good tight ends in Dallas when Troy Aikman was playing with the Novacek. It's like, why is it so hard to believe when, or at least why is it so hard to believe Michael Irvin, Troy Aikman is the best quarterback of the era, so that means he's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, when in my opinion that's not true. In the 90s I would take John Elway over Troy Aikman. In the 90s I would take Steve Young, and I would take Brett Favre over Troy Aikman, just because a lot of times it was up to those guys making the plays for their team. That Dallas Cowboys team was stacked. It was stacked, from having Charles Haley to having Deion Sanders on the defensive side to having Darren Woodson safety playing. And then on top of that, he played with the all-time leading rusher. When you play with someone that can run the ball, it makes passing the ball a whole lot easier, right? It makes passing the ball a whole lot easier. But a lot of times people don't sit and watch the whole games and stuff like that, so they just go back, look at the stats, look at this person did it throughout his whole career, and say, well, he's better because he has more Super Bowl rings, and that may be true. But again, Troy Aikman, he played in the 90s, he won 3 Super Bowls, but would you say that he's better than Peyton Manning? Absolutely not. And I feel like for Peyton Manning, it will be so important for him to win this Super Bowl just to shut everybody up that says that he is not a great quarterback because he did not win, because he did not win multiple Super Bowls. And that's such a crock of crap. It pisses me off right now just thinking about it, because Michael Irvin, he would say, no, Peyton has to win this game to even be mentioned among the greats. And I'm thinking to myself, Peyton Manning as a quarterback was 10 times better as Troy Aikman as a quarterback. You give Peyton Manning an Emmitt Smith. You give Peyton Manning a Marvin Harrison with that defense. And I know not Marvin Harrison, but Michael Irvin, because I know a lot of y'all thinking, well, he had Edgerrin James, he had Marvin Harrison. That defense was crap. That defense was just doo-doo, with just boo-boo berries, you know what I mean? And that running game in December, and that running game in January, and that playoff time wasn't the same running game. You know what I mean? September through November, Edgerrin James was a beast. I love him. He's from the U. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, it was not like the best running game, because everybody remembers those Patriots games, right? And everybody remembers, Peyton Manning struggling. Well, it's like, where was the running game then? Emmitt Smith, he was always producing. He was the main focus on that offense. And to me, that is the biggest difference. The main focus on the Cowboys was giving the ball to Emmitt Smith 20-25 times, keep the ball away from the other team, let that defense do what it does when they get on the field and just ball, you know what I mean? So when you're not the main focus of your offense as the quarterback, then to me, it's like Michael Irvin got twisted. Now, I know it's his boy. I know they won Super Bowls together. Troy Aikman's his boy. I would defend my boy too. But at the end of the day, Troy Aikman is not, in my opinion, in the same class as Peyton Manning. If we was going to do a top 10 quarterbacks of all time, I'm talking about from Johnny Unitas all the way up until now, I don't think Troy Aikman would be in there. Troy Aikman, I believe, was top 10, wasn't a top 5 quarterback before Peyton Manning came into the league. Now that you got Peyton Manning, now that you got Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers is still in the prime of his career. I think when it's all said and done, we're going to look at these quarterbacks in a better regard than Troy Aikman. Now, Troy Aikman, to his credit, was a great leader. He was a great leader. He was a very accurate quarterback, and he did what the team asked him to do, right? He did what the team asked him to do. He did. But at the end of the day, when we talk about people that do what the team asks them to do, they get labeled as a game manager. They really do. They get labeled as a game manager. So when I hear Terry Bradshaw flapping at the gums and saying he only threw the ball 10 times, well, how hard is it to give the ball to Franco Harris and let the steel curtain do their thing on defense? You just happen to be the quarterback. You know what I mean? And my dad, he would get on my case, man. You don't know what you're talking about. Terry Bradshaw can throw the ball. Oh, okay, that's great. You know what I mean? That's great. But again, Terry Bradshaw had a great team around him. And again, football, it comes down to who has the better team. Doesn't really matter who has the better quarterback, because like I said, man, Brad Johnson, he has a Super Bowl ring. Doug Williams, he has a Super Bowl ring. Jim Plunkett got 2 of those G things. Who else? I think I said Brad Johnson, he got one. You know, like there's a long list of quarterbacks that got Super Bowl rings that nobody would say are the greatest quarterbacks of all time. You know what I mean? Kurt Warner, he has a ring, you know, and a lot of people overlook that fact that Kurt Warner has a ring and he had it with a great team, you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, I would like to see Peyton Manning get a ring just so people can be like, okay, he has 2. He has 2. Does that mean that he's going to be labeled better than Tom Brady? I don't know. And I really, in my personal opinion, I really don't even care. You know what I mean? Tom Brady, he did what he did. Whenever I get hot, when people start saying Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback of all time, it's like pump your brakes. Don't forget Joe Montana, because a lot of Tom Brady's comebacks, right? A lot of his comebacks ended in a venetary field goal. So he didn't have to get the ball in the end zone. And a lot of people say, oh, well, that's not his fault that he just had to. Well, your circumstances and what you do in your career make your career. And if you only have to get your team in field goal position, then it's like, oh, well, how great are you? If you lose 2 Super Bowls to Eli Manning, well, then how great are you? My man Joe Montana, 4-0. 4-0 in the Super Bowls. That's why to me, Joe Montana is the greatest quarterback of all time. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank y'all for listening to me just go off for a second. I appreciate it. But again, hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm going to see y'all later. Peace.